A very warm greeting, friends. Welcome to the lecture 4 of Financial Market and Services, wherein we would be discussing about the other instruments of money market, the commercial bills and the recent trends which are happening in the area of money market, the trade bills. So, I am Soumya Singhal, the Assistant Professor of Lloyd Institute of Management and Technology, Greater Noida. So, moving forward, let us first understand that what is the instrument commercial bill is all about. So, if I talk about the commercial bill is an unsecured short term debt instrument. So, let us first try to understand this term. What is the meaning of unsecured? Unsecured is nothing, unsecured means there is no collateral. So, when I talk about any secured debt instrument means you have a security against it. And how you are secured? You are secured only with the help of a collateral. However, in the case of commercial paper, you do not have any collateral, and when you do not have any collateral, it is called as the unsecured debt instrument. It is a short term debt. Why it is a short term debt? Because it is being issued in the money market, and money market is a market where you deal with the short term transactions. Short term means anything which is less than a year. And why do we need commercial papers? Why do we actually need these instruments? In order to meet our short term liabilities. For every instrument, we need those instruments in order to meet our short term liabilities, and that is the whole purpose of having all these instruments. Now, why do we need so many instruments? As I told you in earlier classes also, we need so many instruments because the features differentiate, the amount differentiate. For some we have collateral, for some we do not have collateral, for some we cannot be the participant, for some we can be the participant. Looking at the features, looking at the properties of each instrument, we decide that where we want to invest in. Now, who are the authorities which can issue these commercial papers? So, there are two types of authorities which can issue the commercial paper. So, first is the bank and second is the corporations. So, you have large banks and the corporations, and what are the corporations? Who have the net worth of more than 4 crores. So, if a corporation is having the net worth of more than 4 crores, then that corporation can get involved in the issuing of the commercial paper. So, there is this Professor Simply Simple, how he explains this commercial paper. First, it is a money market instrument because it is for a short term. Second, it is issued by large banks and corporations. Third, to garner money from the money market. So, you can attract the money from the market, you can get all the money from the market and can invest in. And fourth is to meet your short term liabilities. It could be of any reserve ratio, it could be of your any working capital requirement, it could be any your day to day operations. So, to meet all those things, you need the commercial paper. So, when and why was it introduced? So, commercial paper was introduced in the year 1990 when it comes to India. So, in India it was just introduced in 1990. So, 30 years back this particular instrument was being introduced. What was the idea behind introducing this? Why do we actually need this? So, to extend a borrowing option to high rated corporations. So, we can actually extend a borrowing option to high rated corporations. What are these high rated corporations? So, we have few agencies. What are those agencies? The credit rating agencies. If I talk about the credit rating agencies, you have many credit rating agencies like ICRA, CRISIL, CARE, to name few. So, these are the agencies. What they do? They actually rate. Whom do they rate? They rate the large corporations. They rate the large corporations on the basis of their credit worthiness. So, if they give a score of AAA, if they give a score of AA, if they give a score of BB, it means that how the organization is performing. What was the outcome when this particular thing was introduced with the objective of extending the borrowing option to these high rated corporations? What ultimately did we get? When the option of borrowing from banks was pre-existent, was now led to borrowing from the open market. So, we had this option of borrowing money from the banks. This option was available. When the banks came into the existence, we had this option of borrowing it from the banks. The reason why we introduced it, so that we can borrow from the open market. And Why do we need to borrow from the open market? Because they have the less rate of interest. So if you want to borrow a huge amount of money and you are getting that huge amount of money at a less rate of return interest, what will happen? You would definitely go for that option because you are saving on your money. So why we needed this? Because they had this less rate of interest, they had no collateral. So it is an unsecured method, and who can actually issue these? Only the large corporations and the banks can get into with these things. So let us take an example of a ITC. You know that ITC is the owner of a large retail chain and they have different things. So now they wanted to expand their business, and to expand their business they needed certain funds. They had two options. The first option was to get it from the bank and the second option was to get it from the commercial papers. Now as I told you, they have a difference of the interest rate. So when they will go to the bank, the interest rate was 15%. However, in the case of commercial paper, the interest rate was 10%. As a finance student, as a human being, as a citizen, as a person who is dealing with money, because we all are financially literate and we know that what is rate of interest and which amount is bigger, is it 10 or is it 15 which is bigger. So I clearly know that if I am getting an amount at 10% rate of interest and if I am getting amount at 15% rate of interest, definitely I should go for an option which gives me 10% rate of interest. So in this case, what ITC did, ITC also went for the option of choosing it for the commercial paper in order to raise the funds, and with this option what have they done? They have actually gained 5%. So what can we make out from the summary of the commercial papers? So when I talk about the summary of commercial papers, who can issue any corporate? Primary dealers. Who are the primary dealers? Primary dealers are the certified, are the licensed entities or the institutions by the RBI who can issue the securities and can sell it in the open market. So these are the primary dealers and the financial institutions. Who can invest? Who are the people who can invest in? So who can invest in? Individuals can invest in, banking companies can invest in, non-NRIs can invest in, foreign institutional investors, FIIs can invest in your commercial papers. What is the maturity period? What is the amount for which you need this? So the minimum time you need to keep the commercial paper is 15 days and it can reach up to the tenure of 1 year. So 15 to 365 days you can have the commercial paper with you. Amount of CP. So it has to be 25 lakhs. So minimum amount in case of a commercial paper is 25 lakh that you need to invest in. If you have anything, if you have something which is lesser than 25 lakhs, you cannot go for the commercial paper and you can only go in the multiples of 25 lakh. So 25 lakh, 50 lakh, 75 lakh, nothing in less than that particular value. So commercial papers, these are the unsecured instruments to meet your short term liabilities. It is the instrument of the money market. Who are the major issuers? Your corporate dealers, your primary dealers, your institutions and the large banks. People who can invest in your commercial papers, they can be the individuals, banking companies, any NRI, any foreign institutional investor. The maturity is 15 days to 1 year and the minimum amount where you need to invest in is 25 lakhs. The next important instrument of money market is bills of exchange. So bills of exchange is really very important when it comes to a money market. So it is a instrument in writing containing an unconditional order. So they don't have any condition, but it is a written document which is being signed by the maker. The person who is preparing it signs it and he or she directs it to the other person to pay that particular amount and when they have to pay this amount. So it is a paper like this which shows that this is the date, this is your amount and when will you pay, the date of payment, and over here you sign it. So when you sign it, it becomes a legal document, it becomes a proof that okay. And why is it unconditional? Because there is no condition attached to it, that if in case I fail to make the payment, then what are the consequences. So, when bill of exchange are studied, there are basically two types of bills of exchange. So, first is trade bill and second is accommodation bill. So, we have studied that whenever the bills are considered in the bills market, you have two types of bills. First is bills of exchange and second is your treasury bills that we have studied. Now, when bills of exchange are considered, you have two types of bills of exchange. First is your trade bill and second is your accommodating bill. So, these are the two types of bill. Now, let us first try to understand that what is the difference between trade bill and the accommodating bill. So, the first difference on the basis of nature, these bills, for the trade bills if I talk about, these are basically based on sales and purchase of goods. So, you have your sales, you have your purchases, and when you are issuing a bill, that is called as a trade bill. However, if I talk about the accommodation bill, these bills are drawn to help someone in need of funds. So, suppose A has promised B and C comes in between and C promises okay, I will pay to B. However, A is entitled to make the payment to B, but C comes in between and says okay, I will make the payment. So, what is this? You are helping someone who is in need of funds. So, that is a accommodating bill. The second is your consideration. So, there is a definite consideration for which the bill is accepted. So, you will definitely consider if the bill is accepted or not. When the acceptor may not receive consideration for his acceptance. When accommodating bill is considered, then there need not to be any acceptance from the acceptor that okay, he or she agrees of getting the payment, that you do not need the acceptance. However, in the case of trade bill, you need the acceptance from the acceptor. The extension of credit, these bills are a form of credit extended to the purchaser of goods. So, suppose if I am not in a condition to make the payment today, what is happening? I am drawing a bill, a buyer is drawing a bill, a buyer is writing in a document that I will make the payment of this much amount on this particular date. So, it is a type of extended credit for me. However, these bills do not have the character of a loan. So, when I talk about the accommodating bills, you do not have any character which is called as a loan. It just goes on, you are just helping a person. So, why it would be treated as a character? If I talk about the proceeds, when these bills are discounted, the proceeds remain with the holder. Proceeds means the goods remains with the holder whenever these bills are being discounted. However, when these bills are discounted, the receipts may be shared by two parties. So, two parties, the one who is accommodating and the one who is paying, in both the cases your proceeds will be accommodated. So, these are the major differences. So, accommodation bill is nothing, it is not a liability, you are actually helping someone out of your own consideration, and when trade bill is considered, you are giving in return that yes, I will make the payment and I will make the payment by this date to you. So, let us try to understand the flow of your bills of exchange. So, this is the process of your bills of exchange. So, this is very easy. So, let us understand, this is the seller. The seller is over here, this person has sold the goods. This is somebody who is buying the goods. They have exchanged the commodities. Now, the first step says sell goods for payment in an agreed time period. So, now this seller has sold the goods to this person and this person is saying that I will make the payment. Now, what is happening? This person does not have the money. So, this person will draw a bill. This person will draw a bill. This person has draw a bill. A bill is what? This document that I will pay this thing. Now, what does do? This particular bill goes to the bank. Now, you have three parties involved in it, which we will name technically after discussing how it works. So, you have a bank, I am a seller, my friend is a buyer, my friend has gone to the bank and she has said that okay, this is the amount and bank agrees to provide buyer with the line of credit. So, the bank says okay, I agree, if you are not, I will make the payment on your behalf. So, the bank has agreed to make me the payment on behalf of my friend. Now, what will happen? Now this bank has agreed to her, so she will come to me and she will give that bill to me. See, I have got it signed. Now you don't have to worry, my bank will pay to you. Now suppose I am in need of money, I can go to the bank and I can ask for the money at any point of time. Now suppose my maturity date is, if I talk about the maturity date is say 17th of November. Okay, my friend is supposed to pay me the amount on 17th of November, but I am in need of money, maybe on 15th of October I need money. I can go to the bank because now I have a proof from the bank. Bank has signed that document. I can go to the bank and I can say that, see, this is the document for which you were supposed to make the payment on 17th of November. Can I get the payment on 15th of October? Bank cannot say no to me. Bank will give me the money on 15th of October. But obviously, if bank is making the pre-maturity payment, what bank will do? It will deduct few charges, and in that case, it is called as the discounted bill of exchange. So, what bank has does? Bank has deducted few charges and have made the payment to me, and now the bank has made the payment to me. What is actually happening? Bank is taking the charges from me. So, I have presented the bill to the bank and bank has made the payment to me. So, a person who is making the bill is called as a drawer, because he is the one who is making the bill. So, he or she will be called as a drawer. A person who is entitled to make the payment is called as drawee or acceptor. So, drawee or acceptor is generally the bank, and the person who is entitled to receive the payment is your payee. So, seller is your payee, bank is your drawee, and your buyer is your drawer. So, I can say in technical language that bills of exchange is a bill which is being drawn by the drawer to make the payment to the payee, and the payment is made by the drawee. Now, there are three terms that have been introduced, which makes the definition very difficult and very technical, but if we will try to understand, a bill has been drawn by the drawer means the buyer has made the bill, the payment will be made by the drawee to the payee. So, the payment will be made by the bank to the seller on whose recommendation, because the drawee has accepted the bill which has been drawn by the drawer. So, this is how the bills of exchange operates. So, again in bills of exchange you have three parties that are involved. So, what are these three parties? A payee, a drawer and a drawee. So, just to conclude this slide once again. So, you have three parties: payee, buyer and a drawee. This buyer is called as a drawer. Drawer makes the bill. Drawer goes to the bank, shows the bill that this is the amount which I have to pay by this date. The bank will sign it. Then the drawer gives that bill to the payee. So, payee kaun hai? The payee is the seller. Now, the seller has received that bill. The seller, if in need of money, can go to the bank before the maturity date also, and if the seller goes to the bank before the maturity date, then it will be the discounted bill of exchange, and if the seller goes to the bank on the maturity of date, it will get the amount which is being mentioned in your bills of exchange. So, that was all about the bills of exchange. So, we have studied two concepts. First is the bills of exchange and second is the commercial papers. Now, moving further, we would be discussing about the changes, the trends that have taken place in your money market. So, the government has taken various steps for the growth of Indian money market, and these are the few of the recent steps which government have taken. So, the few of the steps which government has taken is the nationalization of your commercial banks. So, government has nationalized all the commercial banks. Why the government is actually going with the nationalization of commercial banks? Nationalization means privatization of commercial banks in order to give more loans to the people, in order to reduce your NPAs, in order to have more agricultural loans at a discounted price. So whenever government is considered, government has different things in which they have to deal in. So whenever they do the privatization, the basic agenda behind privatization is they can introduce more new technology, they can introduce more stringent laws, they can introduce some rules. So when they actually nationalize all commercial banks, what will happen, that people would be able to get the money, and when people would be able to get the money, what will happen? The money market will improve, people would have more funds, and people would have more funds means they could invest into their business, and if they are investing into their business, they would be able to earn the higher rates, and when they would be able to earn the higher rates, it would benefit the government indirectly. Second thing that they have introduced is the introduction of various relief acts. So there were two different acts which were being introduced. So first was Public Debt Relief Act and second was Urban Relief Act. So what was the purpose of this? The purpose was is to actually ignore the indebtedness of the agriculture, of the farmers, of the people who does not have money. So with this, the government has actually given them a relief that if in case you are not able to repay the amount, it does not bother us. What you can do, you can actually boost up the growth. So that was the major agenda behind the introduction of these various relief acts, and many states are working on these different acts. Each state has their own relief acts on which they work, and the condition may vary from one state to another. The third step which the government has taken is steps taken to curb the disparity in interest rate. So disparity is the difference in your interest rate. So when there is a difference in your interest rate, what will happen? Suppose I told you that the lender is giving the money at 10%, the money lender is giving the money at 10%, the bank is giving the money at 8%, and I have no collateral. So I'll go to the money lender and will ask for the money. So what is happening? There are different interest rates which are prevailing in the market, or maybe there are two different banks which have different interest rate. ICICI is asking for some other interest rate, SBI is giving some other interest rate. So in order to curb all these things, government has introduced new reforms. And how your interest rates are determined? The very easy chart, that this is your demand and supply curve. Here you write the quantity, here you write the interest rates, and if this is the demand of money, and why this is inelastic, because our supply curve has no relation with your interest rate. So that is the supply is this. So if I will talk about this, if my supply decreases, what is happening? The interest rate would actually increase, and if my supply increases, what is happening? The interest rate is actually decreasing. So these are few of the things which government take into consideration. So what government has done, with the help of this particular chart, they come up with one interest rate. If they want to increase the interest rate, what they will do? They will reduce the supply. And how can they reduce the supply of money? By increasing the CRR ratio, by increasing the SLR ratio, by increasing the discount rate, or by selling the securities to the commercial banks. If they are selling the securities to the commercial bank, what will happen? Their money supply will reduce. So with these operations, the government actually controls the interest rate. The fourth is repurchase options of treasury bills to boost the bill market. I told you that in bill market you have two options. First is bill of exchange and second is treasury bills. So what they do, they give the repurchase options of treasury bills, that you can again purchase the treasury bill, so that more and more market can be boosted up and there could be more credit creation. Moving forward, the fifth point, introduction of credit rating for commercial paper and promissory notes. So I told you that you have some credit rating agencies. I told you that you have some credit rating agencies like CRISIL, CARE, ICRA. So these are few of the credit rating agencies. So what they do, they actually give the rating in order to check your credit worthiness. So if your credit worthiness is good, your credit rating would be good. If your credit rating is less, it means your credit worthiness is good, not good. And when I talk about credit worthiness is nothing. Credit worthiness is how much amount you can actually pay. whether you are in a position to pay or not. Next is the money market mutual fund. So, when I talk about the money market mutual fund is something which is being highlighted nowadays a lot. Mutual fund is anything where we need to invest in. So, when you do not have a lot many funds like 25 lakhs, 1 lakh, 25,000, 10,000, you just have a small amount of 1,000 rupees, 5,000, 500 rupees, you can go with the mutual funds. You can invest your money over there and you can earn the higher rates. So, it is a pool of money. Suppose person A, person B, person C, person D, person E, there are different people who are operating. Person A has 500, person B has 500, person C has 500, person D has 1000, person E has 500. So, if you will calculate this amount, the total is 3000 rupees. So, this total will be invested in any of the money market instrument, and the interest that you would be getting, that would be divided among A, B, C, D, E on their profit sharing ratios. So, if you do not have much money with you, if you cannot invest a huge amount, you can start with a small investment. Next is the establishment of the Discount and Finance House of India. So, Discount and Finance House of India was established in 1988, and the main purpose of establishing this particular house was to ease the smooth functioning of your money market. So, what does they do? They actually look after your treasury bills, they see that how the operations are being done, they become the secondary market. So, to ease the functions of the secondary market, they buy the treasury bills and then they sell it. I told you that you have primary market and secondary market. Primary market is somewhere where you deal with the primary issue of the things, which is the new issue of the things. And when I talk about the secondary market is a market wherein you deal with the repurchase, reissue of shares. So, what do they do? DFHI actually smoothens, DHI actually strengthens the secondary market. Liquidity Adjustment Facility. So, LAF. LAF is the most important tool which the monetary policy uses. So, how LAF works? LAF is just based on two factors, which is your repo rate and your reverse repo rate. Now, what is a repo rate? Repo rate is nothing. Repo rate is a rate at which commercial banks are borrowing from the RBI, and reverse repo rate is at what rate the RBI is borrowing from the commercial banks. And LAF is just the adjustment. LAF actually sees the difference between the repo rate and reverse repo rate, and it adjusts. And when it adjusts everything, that is the liquidity adjustment facility, because to see that at what rate you are buying the securities or at what rate you are lending the securities, there has to be an equilibrium between them, and that is how liquidity adjustment facility operates. The ninth and the last point is the establishment of the Clearing Corporation of India Limited. So, CCIL was basically established in order to see the trading and the clearing of your money market instruments. So, there has to be any authority who looks after the clearing and other corporations of it. So, I told you that whenever the treasury bills, the auction for the treasury bills take place, CCIL is one of the authority which looks after it. So, the main agenda of CCIL is to monitor all those activities which are taking place online and to see that the transaction is being done on time. So, these were the few recent trends that have taken place in the money market, wherein they have introduced the DFHI, they have introduced the CCIL, they have introduced the concept of a mutual fund, they have actually started with the commercialization of your banks, they have started with the credit rating for your commercial banks and promissory notes. So, government is working on your money market, because if the government is not able to work on the money market, then they won't be able to operate the capital market in a proper manner, and for the operation of the capital market, money market needs to be in equilibrium. So, there could not be any discrepancy in your interest rate. That is why the operation of money market leads to all this. And the reason why we have different instruments in the money market is that Every instrument has different features, and it becomes really very important before investing in any of the instrument to understand that what are the features, what should be the amount, what is the maturity, am I eligible, am I the participant. So, this helps in. So, this was all about today's class. We would be discussing in detail about the capital market and other things in the next class. So, thank you everyone.